Never ever have enough time to play it all. You know everybody wants to.
We are back in the train room here at the Otter Creek in Rio Grande, and I'm going to pick up right where I left off last weekend. I didn't have what I needed to finish up the wiring project that I have going on here at Cloud and Malta. So I've got my circuit breaker, I've got the barrel plugs, and I think just because you can't see all of the wiring at once on a model railroad like this, I'm going to go ahead and I drew a terrible picture of the wiring just so, you know, if for no other reason, I can come back for reference and kind of see what I've done and share what I've done with others. So let me take a look at that before we move on. Hopefully this will put things kind of in perspective so you can kind of understand what's going on. So I've got the DCS 210, which is my command station. And then I've got this DB150, which is the first booster, and then a DB150 here, which is the second booster. So the power for the DCS 10, and this is all DCC, is lighting up the West Staging Yard, which is Grand Junction, and Idaho Springs. It's also providing power for Silver Gulch and Frying Pan. So all of that is one district, one power district. Then the next power district is Maroon Creek and Hellgate, which Maroon Creek is also, you know, locationally, it's Jerome Park, which is the little bit of track that goes back towards the door. And then underneath Hellgate is my standard gauge staging yard. So all of that is on one booster as well. And then finally, we've got Cloud City, East Staging, and Colorado City, which this is a whole nother thing right here that I'm not going to get into in this video. I'm just, eventually I will talk about what I think I'm going to do with Cloud, and that'll be for another time. But for sure, Malta and Cloud are on this other DB150. Now, I think eventually, because I don't like Frying Pan and West Staging being on the same power source, I probably will cut out West Staging and leave it just for the DCS 10, because this location has the most potential to have locomotives. You know, I could see 6 or 8 locomotives at one time in West Staging, so having just the DCS 10 to cover it, I think would be good. And then I'll probably eventually drop in another DB150 somewhere here. So that's kind of what it looks like in a nutshell. And of course, you know, when you do this, you have to have all of your stations hooked together with LocoNet, which is one of the reasons why I dropped in this number 2 where I am. It's because I didn't want to have to run LocoNet over the door either. And I also didn't want to run it completely around the room. So having it right next to these 3 just makes that LocoNet real simple. So let's see if I can get some power to this DB150 now. If you recall from the previous video, I was not able to get power to that DB150, I presume because of this barrel plug right here. Now, what's kind of odd about that is that I stole that barrel plug from the power source that was operating my turntable, and I never had an issue with it. So I am a little concerned that that might not be what the problem is, and it's the brand new adapter that I bought from Iron Planet Hobbies. And what concerns me about that is I don't think it was a brand new adapter. It did not come in an original box. It came in a box that was something else. But I'm going to give this a try, and hopefully this will solve my problem. And now, the moment of truth. I got nothing. Gotta be kidding me. After trying 3 of these, I discovered that what's going on here is that the plug-in doesn't make solid enough contact because if I understand right, the outside of this barrel, that's the ground. And so where that connects isn't making good contact. I could hold pressure to where it made good contact and it would come on, but just the second I would let go of it, it would no longer provide power. So my solution was to cut this off, and I just took all of the outside wire, which is the ground, or at least I presume is the ground, twisted it up, I put it into another screw terminal, and then the positive side ended up being a white wire, and I stripped it and put it in another screw terminal, and there we are. It works. So I don't like what I've got going on over here. I'll have to change it up just a little bit before I feel comfortable that it's not some kind of strange fire hazard, as if all of my wiring over here is not scary enough. But it's working. It's working, so it's on to the next thing, which I believe is going to be running the bus line for Cloud City. this right here is the connection to the time saver from the DB150 number 1, the Maroon Creek Hell Gate DB150. If I can find the screw head. All right, now the time saver and Cloud City are completely separated from anything other than the other DB150 that I just installed. And that's what this right here is. Just gonna decide if I want to cut any of that off or not. I don't think I will. I think I will leave it just like it is. I'm going to put this first wire in, which is rail A. And I'm going to go ahead and turn the system on before I connect rail B, because there is a chance, because of the way the layout has looped around the room, that the time saver and the rest of the layout might be different. I can't remember. Seems to me like if it is, I have already fixed it somewhere back towards Maroon Creek, but I can't remember. But I don't want to screw that in yet until I've got power going to it. So if my circuit breakers are working accurately, then I'll know immediately the second I make the connection. All right, I have got green lights at both circuit breakers, so let's see what happens. Okay. Apparently I'm all right. All right, now I have not put in any isolation gaps whatsoever that separates the time saver from Cloud City and or the rest of the railroad. So I need to do that now. Hopefully I can do this without too much pain and suffering. The biggest issue, of course, is the fact that this is dual gauge, so I need to thread 3 of the plastic rail joiners all at once, which in my experience is always difficult. I think I'm going to try putting them on the track first. Of course, this is far enough away from me that the focal length of my lenses are not ideal. I got it, believe it or not. Now I think I've got one more to do at the other end. some of these plastic joiners they're just no other way to describe them than just a pain in the butt. So, filing down the very end of the rail joiner here and kind of making it just a little sharp helps. And then also making double sure that there's no burrs on the underneath side. Sometimes, if you just put them on and turn them around, it helps open up the plastic a little bit. And you can see that this one does not really want to start at all. That was painful. I had to go outside, drink a glass of iced tea, and contemplate life's choices. But I did get it in, and so now I'm double gapped at the end of this turnout that's right there, double gapped here, and then where we started down there at the very end, that turnout. So from there down to this end is all isolated and running off of the circuit breaker that's down underneath here. And then of course, running off of the same power supply, 2 different circuit breakers. Before I got finished editing this particular video, my smart plugs came in. So I've got them installed. I've got 8 smart plugs installed in strategic locations on the layout. And what I used was this Casa. It's not going to focus. Here we go. Casa Smart Wi-Fi plug. Slim, I guess. And this is the EP25. And they were super simple to configure. I used Bluetooth from the phone, and I plugged all of them in to the same wall socket for configuration, and then kind of had a game plan of where they'd want to go. So these 2 back here, they turn on my number 1 switch and my number 2 switch. And I'll kind of explain that as we go. Under here, which it's still a mess. I had to kind of rearrange some things and do things a little differently to get it to go in there. So this is the number 3 plug right there. And then back here, I have the number 4 switch. So those are the first 4 that needs to be turned on, and they specifically have to go on in that order. Then we've got number 5. This is just for the power to the turnouts in frying pan. Same thing here. We've got power to the turnouts for Silver Gulch in that smart plug. The same thing's going on here at Malta, where I've got plug 7, which powers on the power for Malta, and then in that power adapter for Malta, specifically the turnouts have their own smart plug. And I'll explain that when we go to turn it all on. One of the things that was going on previously with the setup was when I turned the power on, the turnouts in frying pan and Silver Gulch would immediately throw to how they were hardwired from the power source. And then the IO from LCC, the input output, would send the signal, and then they would throw back to where LCC was telling them they should be. And so, you get that back and forth. I figured that that's just a little more wear and tear than what you would want. And I like the idea that when you first turn it on, the turnouts stay where they were the last time you used them. I think that's the way it works anyway. If you've got LCC CAN bus signal going to the turnouts before they get power. So that was one of the things that I was trying to do here. Now you'll notice that the staging turnouts, there's no power button, nor is there one for Frying Pan or Silver Gulch. And that's because power to these smart plugs are fed in from another smart plug. So this staging one here, this is the number one, you turn it on, and then it feeds electricity to this one. So you have to wait just a few seconds before it will come online. Oops. And that handles the turnouts in the staging yard. So they throw one direction. Then we're going to turn on number 3 here, which should power Frying Pan and Silver Gulch. We'll wait. I could go ahead and turn on Maroon Creek, I think, if I wanted to, but I'm going to wait. So I can't remember if Maroon Creek is also some of the turnouts might be powered from the same power source here. So they're online. And then same thing going on here in Malta, where we're going to turn the power on to the module first, and then we have to wait for this one to come online. There we go. The whole railroad is up and running. Now, I'll say that I've been reluctant to do this for a couple different reasons. And even when I was putting in the staging yard, Trains Lover, I think, was the very first person who said, well, why don't you move in to this century and use some smart plugs so you don't have to mess with all of that extra wiring. And my biggest reluctance in doing this has been the Wi-Fi. It's been a goal of mine the whole time I've been building the railroad is not to be dependent upon Wi-Fi. And here I have become really dependent, because now if I don't know, Pioneer Telephone Internet starts working on the line upstream of me and digs into something and destroys it, I might have to wait, 3 days or something, and I won't be able to turn on the layout if my Wi-Fi is not working, at least not without removing the plugs, which all of them are pretty easily removable except these two. These two are way back in the corner of the reverse loop, and you kind of have to crawl back there, but it wouldn't be that big of a deal if it was going to be out for a week or something. I would probably do. But here it is. I'm happy with it, and there's room to grow. Obviously, when cloud gets put in, you can expect a 9, 10, 11, 12, who knows. I think I'm going to use some of these also with some lighting effects eventually, because I would like my buildings to be able to turn on independently of anything else as well. And that should do it for the smart plugs. We'll move on. So I think the only thing left to do now is to test it. So let's power on the system. Looks like we've got green light goes here in Cloud City. Let's take a look underneath Malta. Green light goes here. All right, now I think the first thing I'm going to do is test the circuit breakers, and I'm going to test I guess I'll do Maroon Creek first just to kind of see. All right, here's the double gap. Everything on this side should be Maroon Creek. So that alarm should be back over there where the power boosters are. All right, here we go. Now, let me just pivot the camera here just because. This should be over here to our left. Aha! And we'll test cloud. All right, looks like everything's a go. Of course, I'm not 100% sure how everything is working as far as the feeder drops go, which I didn't add any. I've only got 2. So I think because the number 8 here has got a couple of 4 cars that need to go off into cloud, we'll just go ahead and do that, and we'll make sure we navigate the reversing section of the Cloud City area when we do it. All right, it looks like everything's running at least as good as it was before I started. The only real difference is now I don't have to worry about robbing any power from any other area in the railroad. So milestone right there. I've got pretty much all of the bus line run where it needs to be. I maybe got one other section that I'm gonna kind of look at, I might do a little differently than what I thought I was originally for another video. All right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you around on the Otter Creek and Rio Grande.